I am Sarah Mitchell, 32 years old, and last Thursday at our family Thanksgiving dinner, my sister's fiancé looked across the table and asked if I still owned the technology consulting firm where he worked. The same family that had spent 8 years mocking my career choices and calling me the black sheep suddenly went silent when they realized the woman they considered their greatest disappointment was actually his boss. If you have ever been underestimated by the people closest to you, stay with me because what happened next will change how you think about persistence and the true meaning of success. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The question that shattered years of family assumptions came after 2 hours of the usual dinner conversation about everyone else's achievements, while my accomplishments remained invisible to people who had decided long ago that I was destined for mediocrity. My brother David had just finished describing his promotion to senior partner at his law firm. My cousin Jennifer was detailing her latest medical research publication. And my sister Rebecca was glowing about her engagement to Marcus Thompson, a rising executive at what she described as one of the most innovative tech companies in Denver. That company was Mitchell Strategic Solutions, the business I had built from nothing in my spare bedroom 8 years earlier, while my family dismissed my efforts as playing with computers and suggested I pursue more stable career options. The irony was perfect and completely unplanned. Rebecca had unknowingly fallen in love with someone whose career advancement depended on decisions I made in boardroom meetings he would never attend. Growing up in the Morrison family meant understanding that success followed a very specific formula. My parents, Robert and Catherine Morrison, had built their entire identity around conventional achievement and social status. My father worked as a vice president at a regional bank, a position he had earned through methodical career progression and careful networking within Denver's business community. My mother balanced her role as a high school principal with active involvement in various charitable organizations that maintained our family's standing within the city's professional circles. Excellence was not just expected in our household, it was the minimum standard for maintaining family membership. Every conversation centered around achievements that could be easily quantified and compared with those of other families in our social network. Grade point averages, standardized test scores, college acceptance letters, starting salaries, and professional advancement became the metrics by which individual worth was measured and family pride was determined. My older brother David embraced this framework completely, excelling academically throughout his educational career, before attending law school and joining a prestigious firm where his methodical approach to legal research and client relations earned consistent recognition and steady promotion. His career trajectory validated every principle my parents had taught us about the importance of conventional success markers and the value of following established professional pathways. My younger sister Rebecca demonstrated equal commitment to family expectations, though her path led through medical school and specialized training in pediatric cardiology. Her work saving children's lives provided both professional prestige and moral authority that made her the undisputed family favorite. Rebecca could do no wrong in my parents' eyes, and her engagement to Marcus represented the perfect culmination of a life lived according to their values and expectations. Then, there was me, the family enigma who showed academic potential, but channeled it in directions that confused and concerned everyone around me. While my siblings competed for the highest grades in traditional subjects, I found myself drawn to the intersection of technology and problem-solving that seemed to exist outside conventional academic categories. Computer programming fascinated me not because of the technical complexity, but because of the creative possibilities it offered for addressing real-world challenges. During high school, I spent countless hours teaching myself programming languages, building simple websites for local businesses, and exploring how technology could streamline processes that people had always accepted as unavoidably complicated. These activities generated modest income and genuine satisfaction. but they also created friction with family members who viewed my interests as distractions from serious academic focus. The tension reached its peak during my junior year when I had to choose between participating in the state debate championship, which would strengthen my college applications for political science or pre-law programs, and attending a 3-day technology conference where I had been invited to present a website I had developed for organizing volunteer coordination at nonprofit organizations. The conference represented recognition from adult professionals who took my work seriously, but my parents saw it as a frivolous hobby that threatened more important educational priorities. "Sarah, you have natural talent for argumentation and logical thinking that would serve you well in law or business," my father explained during one of our many conversations about my future plans. "This computer stuff is interesting, but it is not a career foundation for someone with your intellectual capabilities. You are choosing a hobby over your future." My mother's concerns were more specific and practical. "Technology changes so quickly that any skills you develop now might be obsolete by the time you graduate college," she warned. "Teaching, law, medicine, and business management will always provide stable employment. Computer programming is too unpredictable to build a life around." Their warnings came from genuine concern about my well-being and reflected their own experiences in a world where career security came from following established professional pathways. They had both achieved success through traditional routes and could not envision how unconventional approaches might lead to equally valid outcomes. Their perspective was rational based on their knowledge and experience, even though it ultimately proved incomplete. Despite family pressure, I chose to attend the technology conference and present my volunteer coordination website. The experience proved transformative in ways I could not have anticipated. The professional feedback I received validated my approach to solving organizational challenges through technology, while conversations with other attendees revealed career possibilities I had never imagined. The most significant connection I made was with Patricia Chen, a technology consultant who specialized in helping small businesses implement digital solutions that improved their operational efficiency. Patricia had built her consulting practice from scratch after leaving a corporate technology role, and her success demonstrated that entrepreneurial approaches to technology implementation could generate both financial rewards and meaningful impact on client organizations. "You have something unusual," Patricia told me after my presentation. "Most young programmers focus on technical elegance, but you understand how technology fits into human workflows and organizational needs. That combination of technical skill and business insight is rare and valuable." Over the following months, Patricia became an informal mentor who provided guidance about technology career paths that extended beyond traditional employment options. She introduced me to concepts like consulting, freelancing, and entrepreneurship that had never been discussed in my family or educational environment. More importantly, she helped me understand that unconventional career choices require different types of preparation and risk management than traditional professional paths. During my senior year of high school, I began developing a more sophisticated understanding of how technology consulting could address real business challenges while providing the creative fulfillment and professional autonomy that attracted me to programming. I researched successful consulting firms, studied their service offerings and business models, and began developing ideas about how I might eventually build my own practice. The college selection process created additional family tension as my interests diverged further from conventional expectations. While my parents encouraged applications to universities with strong pre-law or business programs, I found myself drawn to schools that offered computer science degrees with opportunities for internships and entrepreneurship training. The compromise. We eventually reached involved attending Colorado State University, which offered both business and computer science programs that would allow me to explore different career options while maintaining flexibility. My undergraduate experience reinforced my conviction that technology consulting represented the career path that best aligned with my interests and capabilities. Coursework in computer science provided technical foundations, while business classes helped me understand organizational dynamics and market forces that would affect any future entrepreneurial endeavors. More importantly, internships and part-time work with local businesses gave me practical experience implementing technology solutions that generated measurable improvements in client operations. During my junior year, I began taking on freelance consulting projects that provided income while building a portfolio of successful implementations. These projects ranged from database design for a local nonprofit organization to website development for a growing restaurant chain. Each assignment taught me something valuable about client management, project scoping, and the business development, skills that would be essential for any future consulting practice. The freelance work also generated the first serious family discussions about my post-graduation plans. My parents had assumed that college would eventually steer me toward traditional career paths, but my growing consulting portfolio suggested that I was becoming more committed to unconventional approaches rather than less. Their concern about my future financial security intensified as graduation approached, and I showed no interest in applying for corporate positions or graduate school programs. "Sarah, you are about to graduate with excellent grades and strong recommendations," my mother said during one of our weekly phone calls. "This is the time to leverage your education for maximum career benefit. Consulting projects are good experience, but they are not a substitute for building a real career foundation." My father's concerns were more direct and practical. Freelancing might seem attractive now, but it offers no benefits, no job security, and no clear advancement pathway. You need to think about long-term financial planning, health insurance, and retirement savings. Self-employment makes all of these things much more complicated and risky. Their advice was reasonable and reflected genuine concern about my well-being, but it also revealed fundamental misunderstandings about entrepreneurship and the changing nature of technology careers. They viewed self-employment as inherently risky, because their own career experiences had taught them that security came from institutional affiliation and predictable advancement pathways. They could not envision how building a consulting practice might actually provide greater long-term security than traditional employment. The conversations became more frequent and intense as graduation approached, and I showed no signs of modifying my plans. Family dinners turned into strategy sessions where David and Rebecca were enlisted to provide additional perspectives on the importance of conventional career development. Their success in traditional professional tracks was used as evidence that following established pathways led to better outcomes than pursuing untested alternatives. "Look at where David is after 5 years of law practice," my mother would say. "He has partnership prospects, excellent benefits, and recognition within his firm. Rebecca is saving children's lives while building toward department leadership at the hospital. Both of them have clear advancement trajectories and professional security. What does freelance consulting offer that compares to those advantages?" Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The question was fair and required honest assessment of my goals and risk tolerance. Freelance consulting offered creative autonomy, direct client relationships, and unlimited income potential. But it also required assuming responsibility for business development, financial management, and professional development that traditional employers typically handled. The choice ultimately came down to whether I valued security more than autonomy, and whether I believed my skills were sufficient to succeed in competitive consulting markets. After extensive reflection and research, I concluded that building a consulting practice aligned better with my personality and professional interests than pursuing traditional employment, even though it involved greater uncertainty and required capabilities I had not yet fully developed. The decision was not made lightly or without understanding the challenges involved, but it represented an authentic choice about how I wanted to structure my professional life. Graduation day arrived with family tension still unresolved about my future plans. My parents celebrated my academic achievements while continuing to express hope that I would reconsider corporate employment options. David and Rebecca offered congratulations, mixed with gentle suggestions about the value of conventional career development. The overall atmosphere was supportive, but marked by underlying concern about choices they could not fully understand or endorse. The weeks following graduation were devoted to establishing the foundation for what would eventually become Mitchell Strategic Solutions. I registered a business entity, obtained necessary licenses and insurance, developed marketing, materials, and began systematically reaching out to potential clients who might benefit from technology consulting services. The process was both exciting and terrifying, requiring confidence in my abilities while acknowledging how much I still needed to learn about running a business. My first major client was a regional nonprofit organization that needed to replace their outdated donor management system with a more sophisticated database that could track contributions, volunteer activities, and program outcomes in ways that would support both operational efficiency and grant reporting requirements. The project required 3 months of intensive work, including system design, data migration, staff training, and ongoing support to ensure successful implementation. The nonprofit engagement proved successful beyond my expectations, generating not only financial compensation, but also referrals to other organizations facing similar technology challenges. More importantly, the project validated my approach to consulting, which emphasized understanding client needs thoroughly before recommending solutions and maintaining long-term relationships rather than simply completing isolated transactions. Over the following 2 years, Mitchell Strategic Solutions grew from occasional freelance projects to a consistent practice with multiple ongoing client relationships. Revenue increased steadily, as my reputation for reliable, effective consulting spread through Denver's business community. The work was challenging and often stressful, but it provided the professional satisfaction and financial independence that I had hoped to achieve through self-employment. However, family perceptions of my career choice remained largely unchanged, despite objective evidence of business success. Freelance consulting was still viewed as temporary employment that would eventually be replaced by more conventional career choices. My income was dismissed as unpredictable despite consistent growth, and my client relationships were characterized as less substantial than traditional employer-employee arrangements. The misunderstanding reached its peak during Rebecca's medical school graduation celebration, when my father introduced me to his colleagues as someone who does computer work while figuring out her real career direction. The comment was not intended to be dismissive, but it revealed how my family continued to view my business as a phase rather than a legitimate professional choice. That evening marked a turning point in my relationship with family expectations and external validation. I realized that seeking approval for unconventional choices from people who could not understand or appreciate them was ultimately futile and potentially damaging to my own confidence and decision-making. The solution was not to abandon family relationships, but to develop independence from their opinions about my professional choices. From that point forward, I focused primarily on building my business, rather than explaining or defending my career decisions to family members who lacked the context to evaluate them fairly. This approach reduced family tension while allowing me to concentrate energy on activities that actually contributed to business growth and client satisfaction. The strategy proved effective for both business development and personal well-being. The third year of Mitchell Strategic Solutions brought opportunities that exceeded anything I had imagined when starting the business. Larger clients began requesting more complex projects that required hiring additional consultants and developing specialized expertise in emerging technology areas. Revenue growth accelerated as the business transitioned from solo practice to team-based consulting firm with multiple revenue streams and expanding service capabilities. The most significant breakthrough came when Patricia Chen, my former mentor, recommended Mitchell Strategic Solutions for a major project with a Fortune 500 company that needed to integrate multiple software systems while maintaining operations across 12 different locations. The engagement required 6 months of intensive work with a team of 8 consultants and generated more revenue than my previous 2 years combined. Success with the Fortune 500 project established Mitchell Strategic Solutions as a recognized player in Denver's technology consulting market and created opportunities for similar engagements with other large organizations. The business grew rapidly over the following 3 years, requiring office space, formal staff positions, and sophisticated project management systems that could handle multiple concurrent engagements with different technical requirements and timeline constraints. By year 6, Mitchell Strategic Solutions employed 15 full-time consultants and maintained ongoing relationships with over 40 client organizations throughout Colorado and neighboring states. The company had developed specialized expertise in healthcare technology, nonprofit management systems, and small business operational efficiency that differentiated our services from larger consulting firms that focused primarily on corporate clients. Financial success exceeded my most optimistic projections from the early years of business development. Revenue growth had been consistent year over year, profit margins remained healthy despite competitive pressures, and the company had developed sufficient cash reserves to weather economic downturns or pursue strategic expansion opportunities. More importantly, client satisfaction scores remained consistently high, indicating that business growth had not compromised service quality. However, family perceptions of my career continued to lag behind objective reality. Conversations at East family gatherings still included subtle suggestions about the value of conventional employment and questions about when I might pursue more traditional career advancement. My success was acknowledged but characterized as exceptional rather than replicable, and my business was still viewed as inherently less stable than David's law practice or Rebecca's medical career. The disconnect between my actual professional achievements and family understanding of those achievements created an interesting psychological dynamic. External validation from clients, industry recognition, and financial success provided strong evidence that my career choices had been sound, but lack of family appreciation created persistent doubt about whether my path had been worthwhile. This internal tension would continue until the Thanksgiving dinner when Marcus Thompson, my sister's fiancé, unknowingly connected the dots between his successful employer and his future sister-in-law, who had been consistently dismissed as the family underachiever. The moment of recognition would force everyone to confront the gap between their assumptions and reality while providing the external validation I had stopped seeking years earlier. But the journey to that moment required 8 years of building something extraordinary while being consistently underestimated by the people whose opinions had once mattered most to me. Every client success, every revenue milestone, and every industry recognition had been achieved, while my family remained convinced that I was wasting my potential on an unsustainable career choice. The story of how Mitchell Strategic Solutions became successful enough to employ someone my sister would eventually marry began with a simple recognition that technology could solve real business problems when implemented thoughtfully and maintained properly. That insight, developed during high school and refined through years of practical experience, became the foundation for a business that would ultimately employ over 50 people and serve clients throughout the western United States. But none of that success mattered to my family until the moment when Rebecca's engagement celebration forced them to confront the reality that their greatest disappointment had actually become their most successful member. The recognition would be delayed, but when it finally arrived, it would be impossible to dismiss or minimize. The foundation for everything that followed was laid during those early years, when I chose authentic professional development over external approval, when I built something meaningful rather than seeking validation, and when I learned that real success comes from creating value for others rather than meeting other people's expectations about what your life should look like. That foundation would prove strong enough to support not only business growth and financial success, but also the personal satisfaction that comes from proving that unconventional choices can lead to extraordinary outcomes when pursued with dedication, integrity, and unwavering commitment to excellence. The transition from college graduate with ambitious plans to legitimate business owner required navigating challenges that no entrepreneurship textbook had adequately prepared me for. The first 18 months of Mitchell Strategic Solutions tested every assumption I had made about self-employment while teaching lessons that would prove invaluable for long-term business development. These early struggles shaped both my professional methodology and personal resilience in ways that formal education never could have accomplished. The most immediate challenge was generating sufficient revenue to cover both business expenses and personal living costs while building a client base from scratch. Unlike traditional employment where paychecks arrive predictably regardless of daily performance, consulting income depended entirely on my ability to identify potential clients, convince them that their technology challenges required professional assistance, and deliver results that justified their investment in my services. During the first 6 months, I applied for over 200 potential consulting opportunities, ranging from small nonprofit projects to large corporate implementations. The rejection rate exceeded 90%, with most potential clients choosing established consulting firms that offered apparent security through extensive staff, proven methodologies, and financial resources that could guarantee project completion, even if individual consultants became unavailable. The feedback I received during this period revealed the fundamental credibility challenge facing any new consulting practice. Clients wanted evidence of successful implementations before committing to projects, but building that evidence required completing projects with clients who were willing to take risks on unproven consultants. Breaking this circular dependency required finding clients who valued innovation and personal attention more than institutional credibility. My breakthrough came through persistent outreach to nonprofit organizations that had been underserved by larger consulting firms due to limited budgets and specialized requirements that did not align with standard service offerings. These organizations often struggled with technology challenges that significantly impacted their operational efficiency, but could not afford the premium rates that established consulting firms required for custom solutions. The Denver Community Foundation became my first major client after 18 months of proposal writing and relationship building. The organization needed to replace their outdated donor management system with a comprehensive database that could track contributions, grant distributions, volunteer activities, and program outcomes while generating reports required by various regulatory agencies and funding sources. The project required 6 months of intensive work, including stakeholder interviews, system design, data migration, staff training, and ongoing support to ensure successful implementation. The technical challenges were substantial but manageable, with careful planning and systematic execution. More difficult were the organizational dynamics involved in changing established workflows and convincing staff members to abandon familiar processes in favor of new approaches that promised greater efficiency but required significant learning investment. Working with the Community Foundation taught me that successful consulting required skills that extended far beyond technical expertise. Understanding organizational culture, managing change resistance, and facilitating communication between different stakeholder groups proved as important as database design and software configuration. These soft skills had not been emphasized in my computer science coursework, but were essential for delivering implementations that clients would actually use effectively. The Foundation project also introduced me to the concept of scope creep, where initial project requirements gradually expand as clients recognize additional possibilities or encounter unexpected challenges during implementation. Managing these changes required balancing client satisfaction with project profitability while maintaining clear communication about timeline and budget implications. Learning to handle scope changes professionally became a crucial business skill that would serve me well in future engagements. Success with the Denver Community Foundation generated my first client referrals, which proved far more valuable than any marketing activities I had attempted during the previous year. Satisfied clients provided credible testimonials to their professional networks, creating opportunities with organizations that would never have responded to cold outreach from an unknown consultant. This experience taught me that exceptional client service was the most effective marketing strategy for a service business. Over the following year, Mitchell Strategic Solutions completed projects with 8 different nonprofit organizations, building a portfolio of successful implementations, while developing specialized expertise in the unique technology challenges facing mission-driven organizations. Revenue grew steadily as my reputation for reliable, cost-effective consulting spread through Denver's nonprofit community. However, financial stability remained precarious due to the irregular nature of consulting income. Large projects generated substantial revenue during implementation periods, but were followed by gaps while I developed new client relationships and planned subsequent engagements. Cash flow management became a constant concern that required careful budgeting and maintenance of emergency reserves to cover expenses during slow periods. The uncertainty was particularly challenging because it contrasted sharply with the financial predictability that my family associated with professional success. Traditional employment provided regular paychecks, comprehensive benefits, and clear advancement pathways that made financial planning straightforward. Self-employment required assuming responsibility for health insurance, retirement savings, and income tax management, while accepting that revenue could fluctuate significantly based on market conditions and client demand. Family conversations during this period often included subtle expressions of concern about my financial security and suggestions that gaining experience through traditional employment might provide a more stable foundation for eventual self-employment. These recommendations came from genuine care about my well-being, but also reflected fundamental misunderstandings about entrepreneurship and the different risk-reward calculations involved in building a business versus climbing corporate hierarchies. My father's concerns were particularly pronounced because his banking background emphasized the importance of steady income and conservative financial planning. "Sarah, you have demonstrated that clients value your services," he would say during our monthly phone calls. But working for an established consulting firm would provide the same professional development opportunities with better financial security and advancement prospects. These conversations were difficult because they forced me to articulate business goals and risk tolerance in ways that did not always align with conventional wisdom about career development. I believed that building my own practice would ultimately provide greater financial and professional rewards than traditional employment. But proving this hypothesis required years of sustained effort with uncertain outcomes. The emotional challenge of pursuing an unconventional path while lacking family support created periods of significant self-doubt, particularly during slow business cycles when project pipelines were thin and financial pressures intensified. During these moments, I questioned whether my confidence in entrepreneurship was justified, or whether I was simply too stubborn to acknowledge that conventional career advice might be correct. The second year of business development brought new challenges as I attempted to expand beyond nonprofit clients into commercial markets that offered higher revenue potential but required different technical capabilities and business development approaches. Corporate clients had more sophisticated technology requirements, larger budgets, and more complex decision-making processes that extended project timelines and required more extensive relationship management. My first corporate consulting engagement was with a regional medical practice that needed to integrate their patient management system with new electronic health record requirements mandated by federal healthcare regulations. The project scope was technically demanding and required compliance with privacy regulations that carried significant legal penalties for implementation errors. Working with the medical practice introduced me to the importance of professional liability insurance, formal contract terms, and quality assurance processes that had been unnecessary for smaller nonprofit projects. The stakes were higher in terms of both potential rewards and potential consequences, requiring more sophisticated business practices and risk management approaches. The medical practice project also revealed the importance of staying current, with industry developments and regulatory changes that could affect client requirements. Healthcare technology was evolving rapidly due to government mandates and technological advances, creating both opportunities and challenges for consultants who specialized in this sector. Maintaining expertise required continuous learning and professional development that extended beyond formal education. Success with the medical practice led to referrals within Denver's healthcare community, creating opportunities with other practices facing similar technology integration challenges. This sector specialization proved valuable because it allowed me to develop deep expertise in specific technical requirements while building a reputation within a defined professional network where referrals were common and client needs were relatively predictable. However, sector specialization also created vulnerability to economic downturns or regulatory changes that could affect entire industries simultaneously. Diversification across multiple client sectors became an important strategic consideration for ensuring business stability and growth opportunities. Balancing specialization with diversification required careful market analysis and resource allocation decisions. By the end of the second year, Mitchell Strategic Solutions had established a solid foundation with recurring clients in both nonprofit and healthcare sectors. Revenue had grown consistently despite occasional slow periods, and client satisfaction scores indicated that my service delivery approach was effective for organizations with limited technology budgets, but significant operational improvement needs. The business success was gratifying, but had not yet reached levels that would impress family members who measured professional achievement through traditional metrics like job titles, salary progression, and benefits packages. My income was comparable to entry-level positions at established consulting firms, but it came with none of the institutional support or advancement guarantees that corporate employment provided. Family perceptions remained focused on the risks and uncertainties of self-employment, rather than the progress I had achieved or the potential for future growth. David's advancement to senior associate at his law firm generated more family celebration than my successful completion of complex technology implementations that significantly improved client operations. Rebecca's medical school achievements were viewed as more substantial than my growing reputation within Denver's nonprofit and healthcare communities. The disconnect between objective business progress and family recognition created ongoing frustration that I learned to manage through focusing on client satisfaction and professional development, rather than seeking external validation. Building something meaningful required confidence in my own judgment about what constituted success and progress, regardless of whether others understood or appreciated those achievements. The third year brought opportunities to work with larger organizations that required more sophisticated technical solutions and project management capabilities. A regional hospital system engaged Mitchell Strategic Solutions to coordinate technology upgrades across 5 different facilities while maintaining operational continuity during implementation periods. The project required managing multiple vendor relationships, coordinating with internal IT staff, and ensuring compliance with healthcare regulations that affected everything from data security to user access controls. The hospital system engagement proved transformational for business development because it demonstrated capabilities that qualified Mitchell Strategic Solutions for similar projects with other large organizations. The successful implementation generated referrals within the healthcare industry while providing experience with complex project coordination that would be valuable for future consulting opportunities. More importantly, the hospital project required hiring additional consultants to handle workload that exceeded my individual capacity. Transitioning from solo practitioner to team leader required developing new skills in staff management, quality, control, and business development that extended far beyond technical consulting expertise. These management challenges were stimulating but demanding, requiring attention to interpersonal dynamics and organizational development that had not been part of my previous consulting work. Hiring employees also created new financial responsibilities and legal obligations that increased business complexity while providing opportunities for revenue growth that would have been impossible through individual consulting alone. Employment law, benefits administration, and payroll management became important business functions that required professional expertise or outsourcing to specialized service providers. The transition to multi-person consulting practice marked a significant milestone in business development, but also created new sources of stress and uncertainty. Employee salaries became fixed costs that had to be covered regardless of project volume, requiring more sophisticated financial planning and business development strategies. Staff retention became important for maintaining client relationships and avoiding disruptions to ongoing projects. Despite these new challenges, the third year concluded with Mitchell Strategic Solutions achieving revenue growth that exceeded industry averages while maintaining high client satisfaction scores. Across all major engagements, the business had evolved from experimental self-employment to legitimate consulting practice with established expertise, proven methodologies, and growth prospects that justified continued investment in staff and infrastructure development. However, family understanding of these achievements remained limited due to the abstract nature of consulting success and the difficulty of comparing entrepreneurial progress with traditional career advancement markers. My accomplishments were acknowledged but not fully appreciated, creating ongoing tension between my professional satisfaction and desire for family recognition that would persist until circumstances forced a more direct confrontation with reality. The foundation for future growth had been established through 3 years of systematic client development, service excellence, and business infrastructure investment. The skills and relationships developed during this period would prove essential for the rapid expansion that would occur over the following 5 years, ultimately creating a business substantial enough to employ someone my sister would eventually marry without any of us realizing the connection until that memorable Thanksgiving dinner. These early struggles taught lessons about resilience, client service, and business development that no amount of formal education could have provided. More importantly, they demonstrated that unconventional career paths could lead to meaningful professional achievement when pursued with dedication, integrity, and unwavering commitment to creating value for others rather than seeking external validation or approval. The call that would fundamentally reshape my understanding of business risk and resilience came on a Tuesday morning in November during my 4th year of operations. Jennifer Walsh, the procurement director at Colorado State University, delivered news that shattered 6 months of intensive preparation and represented the most significant professional setback I had experienced since launching Mitchell Strategic Solutions. Sarah, I need to inform you that the university has decided to award the campus-wide technology integration project to Pinnacle Systems, she said, her voice carrying the professional courtesy that barely masked the devastating impact of her words. The selection committee felt that their proposal demonstrated more comprehensive capabilities for managing a project of this scale and complexity. The Colorado State University engagement represented everything I had been working toward during the previous 3 years. The project involved integrating technology systems across 12 different departments, affecting over 8,000 students and faculty members while requiring coordination with state government agencies that oversaw higher education technology standards. Success would have established Mitchell Strategic Solutions as a major player in educational technology consulting, while generating sufficient revenue to support significant staff expansion and market diversification. More importantly, the university project represented validation that my consulting practice had evolved beyond small-scale implementations to become capable of competing for large institutional contracts against established firms with decades of experience and significantly greater resources. The opportunity had emerged through relationships built over years of successful smaller projects with various university departments, creating what appeared to be ideal circumstances for winning. A transformational engagement. The proposal development process had consumed 6 months of intensive effort, requiring detailed technical specifications, comprehensive project timelines, and financial projections that demonstrated our capability to manage a multi-million-dollar implementation while maintaining operational excellence across all existing client relationships. The proposal represented our most sophisticated business development effort and required investment of time and resources that significantly exceeded anything we had previously undertaken. I had assembled a team of 8 consultants specifically for this project, conducting extensive research into university technology requirements while developing innovative approaches to system integration that would differentiate our proposal from competitors who relied on standard methodologies. The technical solution we proposed addressed specific challenges that other consulting firms had not fully understood, offering opportunities for operational improvements that extended far beyond basic compliance with state technology mandates. The proposal presentation had been scheduled for a full day of meetings with university administrators, department heads, and faculty representatives who would be affected by the technology integration. Our team had prepared comprehensive demonstrations of proposed solutions while anticipating questions about implementation timelines, staff training requirements, and ongoing support capabilities that would ensure long-term project success. The presentation day had proceeded flawlessly, with university stakeholders expressing enthusiasm about our innovative approaches and asking detailed questions that suggested genuine interest in our proposed solutions. Several department heads commented positively about our understanding of academic workflows and our commitment to maintaining educational continuity during system transitions. The feedback had been overwhelmingly positive, creating confidence that our proposal would be competitive against any other submissions. The weeks following our presentation had been filled with optimistic planning for project implementation and staff expansion that would be required to deliver on commitments made during the proposal process. I had begun preliminary discussions with potential new hires while developing detailed project management frameworks that would ensure successful coordination of the complex implementation timeline we had proposed. Jennifer's phone call destroyed these plans while raising fundamental questions about my assessment of our competitive position and the factors that influenced major procurement decisions. The rejection was particularly devastating because it came without warning or opportunity for clarification about areas where our proposal might have fallen short of university expectations. Can you provide specific feedback about weaknesses in our proposal that we might address for future opportunities? I asked, hoping to extract learning value from the disappointment while maintaining professional composure despite the emotional impact of losing such a significant opportunity. Jennifer's response revealed the political dimensions of large procurement decisions that I had underestimated despite years of experience with smaller organizational clients. The decision was not based on technical capabilities or project approach, she explained carefully. Pinnacle Systems demonstrated institutional stability and financial resources that provided greater confidence about project completion guarantees. The explanation highlighted a fundamental credibility gap that no amount of technical innovation or service excellence could overcome when competing for large institutional contracts. Established consulting firms offered apparent security through extensive staff, proven track records with similar projects, and financial reserves that could guarantee project completion even if unexpected challenges arose during implementation. Mitchell Strategic Solutions had developed impressive capabilities and maintained excellent client relationships, but we lacked the institutional credibility that large organizations required when committing to multi-million-dollar technology implementations. Our success with smaller projects provided evidence of competence, but did not address concerns about our capacity to manage complex engagements that could affect thousands of users while requiring coordination with multiple vendor relationships and regulatory compliance requirements. The rejection forced honest assessment of our competitive position and the strategic changes that would be necessary to qualify for large institutional contracts in the future. Technical excellence and client satisfaction were necessary, but insufficient for competing against established firms that offered institutional stability and financial guarantees that smaller consulting practices could not match. The immediate financial impact was severe because we had declined several smaller opportunities while focusing resources on the university proposal development. The 6 months invested in proposal preparation represented significant opportunity costs that could not be recovered, while the anticipated revenue from the university project had been incorporated into financial planning that now required complete revision. More challenging was the impact on team morale and confidence in our growth strategy. The consultants who had worked on the university proposal had invested enormous effort in developing innovative solutions while maintaining optimism about our competitive prospects. The rejection created doubt about whether our business development approach was realistic, given the competitive dynamics of large consulting markets. I scheduled individual meetings with each team member to discuss the rejection and its implications for our future strategic direction. These conversations were difficult because they required acknowledging that our assessment of competitive advantages had been incomplete while maintaining confidence in our fundamental capabilities and long-term prospects. Marcus Chen, our lead systems architect, expressed frustration that reflected broader team concerns about the fairness of procurement processes that appeared to favor established firms regardless of technical merit or innovative approaches. We developed solutions that addressed specific university challenges better than anything Pinnacle proposed, he said during our meeting. How do we compete when decisions are based on institutional credibility rather than project quality? His question captured the central challenge facing any growing consulting practice that aspired to compete for large institutional contracts. Technical excellence was essential, but not sufficient for winning competitions where client organizations prioritized risk mitigation over innovation or cost-effectiveness. Building institutional credibility required different strategies than those that had enabled our success with smaller clients who valued personal relationships and customized solutions. The rejection also created a crisis of confidence about my leadership and strategic decision-making. The university opportunity had represented a calculated risk that technical innovation and relationship building could overcome institutional advantages that larger firms possessed. The failure of this strategy raised questions about whether my assessment of market dynamics had been naive, or whether different approaches might have produced better outcomes. Family reactions to the university rejection reinforced existing concerns about the stability and predictability of entrepreneurial career paths. My father's response was particularly pointed, reflecting his banking background and conservative approach to risk management. Sarah, this demonstrates exactly why established firms have advantages that smaller consultancies cannot overcome, he said during our next phone conversation. Perhaps this is an opportunity to consider joining one of these larger firms where your talents would be appreciated without the stress of business development and financial uncertainty. My mother's concern was more emotional, focusing on the personal toll that business setbacks could create and the advantages of traditional employment that provided protection from market volatility and competitive pressures. You have worked so hard to build this business, she said. But maybe there are better ways to utilize your skills that would provide more security and recognition for your accomplishments. Rebecca's reaction was characteristically direct, reflecting her medical training and systematic approach to problem-solving. Have you considered that this rejection might provide valuable information about market positioning and competitive strategy? She asked. Maybe the solution is not abandoning entrepreneurship, but rather adjusting your approach to better compete for the opportunities you want to pursue. Her perspective was helpful because it reframed the rejection as strategic feedback rather than personal failure, creating opportunities for learning and adaptation rather than simply disappointment and doubt. The university decision provided data about competitive dynamics and client priorities that could inform future business development efforts if analyzed objectively rather than emotionally. David's legal background led him to focus on contractual and risk management aspects of large consulting engagements. Major institutions have legal and financial considerations that extend beyond technical capabilities, he explained. Understanding these requirements might help you develop proposals that address institutional concerns while highlighting your technical advantages. The conversations with family members, while sometimes frustrating due to their underlying assumptions about entrepreneurial risk, provided different perspectives on the strategic implications of the university rejection and potential approaches for addressing competitive disadvantages that had contributed to our unsuccessful proposal. Over the following weeks, I conducted extensive research into the factors that influenced major procurement decisions while analyzing successful proposals from established consulting firms to understand how they addressed institutional concerns about project risk and vendor stability. This research revealed specific elements that our university proposal had lacked despite its technical sophistication and innovative approach to system integration. Large organizations required detailed evidence of financial stability, including audited financial statements, professional liability insurance coverage, and performance bonds that guaranteed project completion regardless of unexpected challenges. They needed references from similar projects that demonstrated capability to manage complex implementations while maintaining operational continuity during system transitions. Most importantly, they required institutional processes and quality assurance frameworks that could ensure consistent service delivery even if key personnel became unavailable during project implementation. These institutional capabilities represented fundamental requirements that could not be addressed through technical innovation or relationship building alone. The analysis revealed that competing successfully for large institutional contracts would require significant changes to our business structure, financial planning, and operational capabilities. We would need to invest in institutional infrastructure, professional certifications, and financial guarantees that represented substantial overhead costs, but were essential for qualifying to compete for the opportunities that could transform our business scale and market position. The strategic decision we faced was whether to make these investments while accepting reduced profitability and increased operational complexity, or to focus on market segments where our existing capabilities provided competitive advantages without requiring fundamental changes to our business model. The choice would determine our growth trajectory and competitive positioning for years to come. After extensive analysis and consultation with advisors, I concluded that building institutional capabilities was essential for achieving the scale and impact that I envisioned for Mitchell Strategic Solutions. The university rejection had provided valuable learning about competitive requirements, while highlighting areas where we needed to develop new capabilities to qualify for transformational opportunities. The decision to pursue institutional credibility required systematic investment in business infrastructure, financial reserves, and operational processes that would enable us to compete effectively for large contracts while maintaining the service, excellence, and client relationships that had enabled our initial success. This transition would prove challenging, but ultimately essential for the growth that would follow over the subsequent 4 years. The rejection from Colorado State University represented a watershed moment that forced fundamental reassessment of our competitive strategy and market positioning. While painful in the immediate term, the experience provided crucial learning about institutional procurement processes and competitive dynamics that would inform every major business decision over the following years. Most importantly, the rejection taught resilience and adaptability that would prove essential when facing future challenges and opportunities. The experience demonstrated that setbacks could provide valuable strategic information if analyzed objectively rather than simply accepted as evidence of inadequate capabilities or misguided ambitions. The university project failure became a catalyst for the strategic investments and operational improvements that would ultimately enable Mitchell Strategic Solutions to compete successfully for the types of large institutional contracts that had initially seemed beyond our reach. The rejection was painful but necessary for the growth and development that would follow. The months following the Colorado State University rejection marked the most challenging period of my entrepreneurial journey, a time when external setbacks combined with internal uncertainty to create profound questions about my professional judgment and long-term business strategy. The isolation that characterized this period was both self-imposed and circumstantial, emerging from the need to rebuild confidence while developing new capabilities that could address the competitive disadvantages the university rejection had revealed. The immediate aftermath of losing the university contract required difficult conversations with team members who had invested significant effort in proposal development while maintaining optimism about our growth prospects. These discussions revealed the broader implications of the rejection beyond immediate financial impact, including questions about our strategic direction and competitive positioning that required honest assessment rather than defensive rationalization. Jennifer Martinez, our project manager, who had coordinated the university proposal, expressed concerns that reflected broader team uncertainty about our ability to compete for large institutional contracts. "I understand that we learned valuable lessons from this experience," she said during our team meeting. "But I am struggling to see how we can realistically compete against firms that have decades of institutional relationships and financial resources that we cannot match." Her observation highlighted the fundamental challenge that the university rejection had exposed. Mitchell Strategic Solutions had developed impressive technical capabilities and maintained excellent client relationships, but we lacked the institutional credibility and financial reserves that large organizations required when committing to complex technology implementations. Addressing these deficiencies would require substantial investment in business infrastructure and operational capabilities that might not generate immediate returns. The financial impact of the rejection extended beyond the lost revenue opportunity to include the substantial costs we had incurred during proposal development. 6 months of intensive preparation had required significant consultant time, travel expenses, and research activities that represented investment in future growth rather than current profitability. The failure to secure the contract meant these costs could not be recovered, creating immediate cash flow pressures that affected our ability to pursue other opportunities. More challenging was the reputational impact within Denver's business community, where news of major contract awards and rejections traveled quickly through professional networks. The university decision became known among potential clients who might question our capabilities based on our inability to secure such a significant engagement. Managing this perception required careful communication about our strategic focus and competitive advantages, while avoiding defensive explanations that might reinforce doubts about our institutional credibility. The emotional toll of the rejection was particularly severe because it challenged fundamental assumptions I had maintained about the relationship between service excellence and business success. Mitchell Strategic Solutions had achieved consistent client satisfaction while building a reputation for innovative solutions and reliable project delivery. The university rejection demonstrated that these accomplishments were insufficient for competing in markets where institutional stability mattered more than technical innovation. This realization forced painful reassessment of my understanding of business competition and client decision-making processes. The entrepreneurial narrative I had embraced emphasized the advantages of agility, innovation, and personalized service that smaller firms could provide more effectively than large institutional competitors. The university experience revealed limitations to this narrative when clients prioritized risk mitigation over innovation or cost-effectiveness. The period of self-doubt that followed was characterized by extensive research into successful consulting practices and analysis of competitive strategies that enabled smaller firms to compete effectively against larger institutional competitors. This research revealed that sustainable success required building institutional capabilities while maintaining the innovative approaches and client relationships that had enabled our initial growth. The challenge was determining how to invest in institutional infrastructure without compromising the operational efficiency and service quality that differentiated Mitchell Strategic Solutions from larger competitors. Building credibility required demonstrating financial stability, professional certifications, and quality assurance processes that could ensure consistent service delivery, regardless of personnel changes or unexpected challenges during project implementation. These requirements represented substantial overhead costs that would reduce profit margins while requiring investment in administrative capabilities that did not directly contribute to client value creation. The strategic decision involved balancing short-term profitability with long-term competitive positioning in markets that could provide transformational growth opportunities. During this period, I also struggled with questions about whether entrepreneurship aligned with my personality and risk tolerance. The university rejection had demonstrated that business development involved uncertainties and competitive dynamics that extended beyond technical expertise or client satisfaction. Success required capabilities in strategic planning, financial management, and business development that I had been developing through experience, but had never mastered through formal training. The isolation that characterized this period emerged partly from the need to process these uncertainties without creating additional doubt among team members who depended on my leadership and confidence for their own professional security. Maintaining team morale required projecting optimism about our future prospects, while privately working through strategic questions and emotional challenges that the rejection had created. Family interactions during this period reinforced existing tensions about my career choices, while providing different perspectives on the strategic implications of the university setback. My parents' concerns about entrepreneurial risk intensified following the rejection, with conversations increasingly focused on the advantages of traditional employment that provided protection from market volatility and competitive pressures. My father's response was particularly direct, reflecting his banking background and conservative approach to risk management. "Sarah, this rejection demonstrates the inherent instability of small business ownership," he said during one of our weekly phone calls. "You have developed impressive skills and built valuable relationships, but perhaps it is time to consider how these assets could be leveraged within a larger organization that provides more security and advancement opportunities." His perspective was rational based on his professional experience, but it also reflected fundamental misunderstandings about entrepreneurship and the different risk-reward calculations involved in building a business versus pursuing traditional career advancement. The conversation was frustrating because it required defending strategic decisions while privately struggling with similar doubts about my chosen path. My mother's concerns were more emotional, focusing on the personal toll that business setbacks could create and the impact on my overall well-being and life satisfaction. "You have invested so much energy in this business," she said. "But is the stress and uncertainty worth the potential rewards when there are other career options that could provide similar professional fulfillment with greater predictability?" Her question was particularly challenging because it touched on uncertainties I was experiencing about work-life balance and the personal costs of entrepreneurial stress. Building a consulting practice required sustained attention to business development, client relationships, and operational management that left limited time for personal interests or social relationships outside professional contexts. Rebecca's medical training led her to approach the situation more analytically, focusing on strategic options rather than emotional considerations. "Have you considered that this setback might provide an opportunity to reassess your business model and competitive strategy?" she asked. "Maybe the solution is not abandoning your goals, but rather adjusting your approach to better address the institutional requirements that affected the university decision." Her perspective was helpful because it reframed the rejection as strategic feedback rather than personal failure, creating opportunities for learning and adaptation rather than simply disappointment and doubt. The university decision provided valuable information about competitive dynamics and client priorities that could inform future business development efforts if analyzed objectively rather than emotionally. David's legal background led him to focus on contractual and risk management aspects of large consulting engagements. Major institutions have fiduciary responsibilities and regulatory requirements that influence their vendor selection criteria, he explained. Understanding these factors might help you develop business capabilities that address institutional concerns while highlighting your technical advantages. His analysis was particularly valuable because it provided practical guidance about specific areas where Mitchell Strategic Solutions needed to develop new capabilities to qualify for large institutional contracts. Legal compliance, financial guarantees, and risk management processes represented fundamental requirements that could not be addressed through technical innovation alone. The conversations with family members, while sometimes reinforcing existing doubts about entrepreneurial career choices, also provided different perspectives on strategic options and potential approaches for addressing competitive disadvantages that had contributed to the university rejection. These external viewpoints helped balance my internal analysis with broader considerations about market dynamics and competitive positioning. During this period of strategic reassessment, I also sought guidance from other entrepreneurs who had successfully navigated similar challenges while building consulting practices that competed effectively for large institutional contracts. These conversations provided valuable insights about business development strategies and operational capabilities that enabled smaller firms to overcome institutional disadvantages. Patricia Chen, my original mentor who had introduced me to technology, consulting, provided particularly valuable perspective based on her own experience, building a successful practice that served both small businesses and large institutional clients. The transition from small project consulting to institutional contracting requires fundamental changes in business structure and operational capabilities, she explained during our meeting. But these investments enable access to opportunities that can transform your practice scale and market position. Her analysis confirmed my assessment that building institutional credibility was essential for achieving the growth and impact I envisioned for Mitchell Strategic Solutions. The university rejection had provided valuable learning about competitive requirements while highlighting areas where we needed to develop new capabilities to qualify for transformational opportunities. The strategic planning process that emerged from this period of reflection resulted in a comprehensive development plan that addressed financial stability, professional certifications, quality assurance processes, and risk management capabilities that would enable us to compete effectively. For large institutional contracts, implementation would require substantial investment and operational changes, but the plan provided a clear pathway for addressing competitive disadvantages that had contributed to the university rejection. The most significant insight from this period was recognizing that sustainable business growth required systematic investment in institutional capabilities while maintaining the innovative approaches and client relationships that had enabled our initial success. The challenge was not choosing between innovation and institutional credibility, but rather developing both sets of capabilities in ways that reinforced rather than conflicted with each other. This realization marked a turning point in my approach to business development and competitive strategy. Rather than viewing institutional requirements as obstacles to innovation, I began to see them as opportunities to build capabilities that would enable access to larger markets while maintaining the service excellence and technical innovation that differentiated Mitchell Strategic Solutions from purely institutional competitors. The period of isolation and self-doubt, while emotionally challenging, proved essential for developing the strategic clarity and operational focus that would drive the substantial growth over the following 4 years. The university rejection had forced honest assessment of our competitive position while providing motivation for the systematic improvements that would ultimately enable us to compete successfully for the types of large institutional contracts that had initially seemed beyond our reach. Most importantly, this period taught resilience and strategic thinking that would prove invaluable when facing future challenges and opportunities. The experience demonstrated that setbacks could provide crucial strategic information if analyzed objectively rather than simply accepted as evidence of inadequate capabilities or misguided ambitions. The isolation was temporary, but the insights gained during this period would inform every major business decision throughout the subsequent phases of growth and development that would transform Mitchell Strategic Solutions into the substantial enterprise that would eventually employ my sister's future fiancé. The phone call that would fundamentally alter the trajectory of Mitchell Strategic Solutions came on a Wednesday morning in February, precisely 4 months after the Colorado State University rejection had forced extensive reassessment of our competitive strategy and market positioning. The voice on the other end belonged to Dr. Michael Harrison, Chief Technology Officer at Presbyterian St. Joseph Medical Center, one of Denver's largest healthcare systems with over 12,000 employees across 8 different facilities. Ms. Mitchell, I received your contact information from Dr. Patricia Reeves at the Denver Community Foundation, Dr. Harrison began, his tone carrying the measured confidence of someone accustomed to making significant technology decisions. We are facing a complex integration challenge that requires specialized expertise, and Dr. Reeves suggested that your firm might have the innovative approach we need to address some unique requirements. The reference from Dr. Reeves represented the value of maintaining strong relationships with former clients even after project completion. The Community Foundation engagement had concluded successfully 2 years earlier, but Dr. Reeves had continued to follow our business development. While serving on several nonprofit boards that occasionally required technology consulting services, her willingness to recommend Mitchell Strategic Solutions for a major healthcare opportunity reflected the long-term relationship building that had become central to our business development strategy. Dr. Harrison explained that Presbyterian St. Joseph was implementing a comprehensive electronic health record system that needed to integrate with existing medical equipment, laboratory systems, and administrative databases while maintaining compliance with federal healthcare regulations that carried significant penalties for implementation errors. The project scope encompassed technical complexity that exceeded anything we had previously encountered, but it also represented the type of institutional engagement that could establish our credibility for similar opportunities with other large healthcare organizations. The challenge we are facing is not simply technical integration, Dr. Harrison continued. We need a consulting partner who can understand our clinical workflows and develop solutions that improve patient care rather than simply meeting regulatory compliance requirements. The larger consulting firms we have evaluated seem to focus on standardized implementations that do not address the specific operational improvements we want to achieve. His description highlighted exactly the type of opportunity that aligned with Mitchell Strategic Solutions' competitive advantages. Our experience with healthcare technology had taught us that successful implementations required understanding clinical operations and staff workflows that larger consulting firms often overlooked in favor of standardized approaches that minimized implementation complexity but failed to optimize operational efficiency for specific organizational needs. The conversation continued for over an hour as Dr. Harrison detailed the technical requirements, regulatory constraints, and organizational objectives that would affect project success. The scope was substantial, involving technology systems that affected every aspect of hospital operations from patient admission through billing and insurance processing. The implementation timeline was aggressive, requiring coordination with multiple vendor relationships, while maintaining operational continuity during system transitions that could affect patient care quality. Most importantly for our business development objectives, the project represented exactly the type of large institutional engagement that could establish Mitchell Strategic Solutions as a credible competitor for similar opportunities with other healthcare organizations. Success would provide the institutional references and project experience that had been lacking in our university proposal while generating revenue that could support the staff expansion and infrastructure investments required for competing effectively in large consulting markets. The initial meeting was scheduled for the following week at Presbyterian St. Joseph's main campus, providing time to prepare comprehensive materials that would demonstrate our understanding of healthcare technology requirements while highlighting the innovative approaches that differentiated our services from larger institutional competitors. The preparation process required extensive research into federal healthcare regulations, medical equipment integration standards, and clinical workflow optimization strategies that extended far beyond our previous project experience. I assembled a team of our most experienced healthcare consultants to develop a presentation that would address Dr. Harrison's specific requirements while showcasing our capability to manage complex implementations that required both technical expertise and deep understanding of clinical operations. The team included Marcus Chen, our lead systems architect who had developed specialized expertise in healthcare database integration, and Jennifer Martinez, our project manager who had successfully coordinated implementations with multiple regulatory compliance requirements. The presentation preparation revealed both the opportunities and challenges that the Presbyterian St. Joseph engagement would represent. The technical requirements were at the upper limit of our current capabilities, requiring coordination with vendor relationships and regulatory agencies that we had never worked with previously. The project timeline was aggressive, demanding resource allocation that would affect our ability to serve existing clients while requiring hiring additional staff with specialized healthcare technology expertise. However, the opportunity also aligned perfectly with the strategic development plan we had created following the university rejection. Success would provide institutional credibility, financial resources, and operational experience that could enable Mitchell Strategic Solutions to compete effectively for similar engagements with other large healthcare organizations throughout Colorado and neighboring states. The meeting at Presbyterian St. Joseph took place in Dr. Harrison's office, a space that reflected both the technical complexity and human focus that characterized modern healthcare administration. The walls displayed medical equipment certifications alongside patient satisfaction awards, creating an environment that emphasized the intersection of technological innovation and clinical excellence that would define our project approach. Dr. Harrison was joined by 3 other hospital administrators, including the chief financial officer who would evaluate project costs and return on investment, the director of nursing who would assess impact on clinical workflows, and the chief information security officer who would ensure compliance with healthcare data protection requirements. The diverse expertise represented in the meeting highlighted the comprehensive evaluation process that large healthcare organizations required when selecting technology consulting partners. Our presentation began with detailed analysis of the current technology infrastructure and identification of specific integration challenges that would affect project success. Rather than proposing standardized solutions, we focused on understanding unique operational requirements that would determine how technology systems could best support clinical excellence and administrative efficiency at Presbyterian St. Joseph. Specifically, the director of nursing, Susan Walsh, provided particularly valuable feedback about clinical workflow requirements that previous consulting evaluations had not adequately addressed. Most technology implementations seem designed by people who have never worked in patient care environments, she observed. We need solutions that support our staff rather than creating additional administrative burdens that take time away from patient care. Her perspective confirmed our assessment that successful healthcare technology implementation required understanding clinical operations rather than simply meeting technical specifications or regulatory compliance requirements. The integration challenge at Presbyterian St. Joseph offered opportunities to demonstrate our capability to develop solutions that improved operational efficiency while enhancing rather than complicating clinical workflows. The Chief Financial Officer, Robert Kim, focused on project costs and implementation timelines that would affect hospital operations and financial performance. We need realistic projections about implementation costs, staff training requirements, and operational disruptions that could affect patient care or revenue generation, he explained. Previous consultants have provided estimates that proved inadequate when unexpected complications arose during implementation. His concerns reflected the financial accountability that healthcare organizations faced when implementing technology systems that affected both operational efficiency and patient care quality. The integration project represented substantial investment that needed to generate measurable improvements in clinical outcomes and administrative efficiency to justify the expense and disruption involved in system transitions. The Chief Information Security Officer, Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, emphasized regulatory compliance requirements that carried significant legal and financial penalties for implementation errors. Healthcare data protection regulations are constantly evolving, and our technology systems must remain compliant throughout the implementation process and afterward, she said. We need consulting partners who understand these requirements and can ensure that integration activities do not create compliance vulnerabilities. Her expertise highlighted the regulatory complexity that distinguished healthcare technology implementations from other types of systems integration projects. The federal requirements affecting patient data protection, medical equipment integration, and clinical documentation created technical constraints that required specialized knowledge and experience that many consulting firms lacked. Our presentation addressed each of these concerns through detailed technical specifications, comprehensive project management frameworks, and innovative approaches to clinical workflow optimization that demonstrated our understanding of healthcare technology requirements. More importantly, we proposed ongoing collaboration with hospital staff throughout the implementation process to ensure that technology solutions supported rather than disrupted clinical excellence and operational efficiency. Dr. Harrison's response was encouraging but appropriately cautious given the project's scope and organizational impact that successful implementation would require. Your approach addresses several concerns that other consultants have not adequately considered, he said. But this project represents a significant commitment for both organizations, and we need to ensure that partnership expectations are clearly understood before proceeding. The conversation that followed focused on project governance, communication, protocols, and performance metrics that would ensure successful collaboration throughout the implementation timeline. These discussions revealed the institutional rigor that large healthcare organizations required when engaging consulting partners for complex technology projects that affected both operational efficiency and patient care quality. The most significant aspect of our presentation was demonstrating how Mitchell Strategic Solutions could provide both technical expertise and organizational understanding that would enable innovation within the regulatory and operational constraints that characterized healthcare environments. Our experience with smaller healthcare clients had taught us that successful implementations required balancing standardization with customization to address specific organizational needs and clinical workflows. Dr. Harrison concluded the meeting by requesting a detailed proposal that would address technical specifications, project timelines, staff requirements, and cost projections for the comprehensive integration project. The proposal development would require several weeks of intensive preparation, but the opportunity represented exactly the type of institutional engagement that could establish our credibility for similar projects with other large healthcare organizations. The drive back to our office provided time to process the significance of the Presbyterian St. Joseph opportunity and its potential impact on our business development strategy. The project scope exceeded anything we had previously undertaken, requiring capabilities and resources that would test our organizational capacity while providing opportunities for substantial growth and market positioning that could transform Mitchell Strategic Solutions into a recognized player in healthcare technology consulting. The proposal development process that followed required systematic analysis of technical requirements, regulatory constraints, and organizational objectives that would determine project success. The complexity exceeded our previous experience, but it also represented the type of challenging engagement that would demonstrate our capability to compete effectively for large institutional contracts that could provide sustainable growth and market differentiation. Most importantly, the Presbyterian St. Joseph opportunity emerged directly from the relationship building and service excellence that had characterized our approach to client development throughout the previous 4 years. Dr. Reeves's willingness to recommend our services reflected the long-term value of maintaining strong relationships with former clients who could provide referrals and references that opened doors to opportunities we could never have accessed through conventional business development activities. The preparation required for the Presbyterian St. Joseph proposal would test every capability we had developed while requiring new expertise in healthcare regulations, medical equipment integration, and clinical workflow optimization that would expand our service offerings and competitive positioning for future opportunities. The project represented both substantial risk and transformational opportunity that could establish Mitchell Strategic Solutions as a credible competitor in large healthcare consulting markets throughout the region. The notification that Presbyterian St. Joseph Medical Center had selected Mitchell Strategic Solutions for their comprehensive technology integration project arrived through a formal letter delivered on a Thursday morning in April, marking the most significant milestone in our business development since launching the company 5 years earlier. The contract value exceeded our total revenue from the previous 2 years combined, while the institutional credibility that successful completion would provide represented validation of our strategic pivot toward large healthcare consulting markets. Dr. Michael Harrison's accompanying phone call confirmed the selection while outlining expectations that would test every capability we had developed throughout our evolution from small nonprofit consulting practice to institutional technology implementation firm. The project scope encompassed integration of electronic health records across 8 hospital facilities, requiring coordination with 15 different vendor relationships, while maintaining operational continuity that could affect patient care. Quality for over 12,000 employees and hundreds of thousands of patients annually. The technical complexity exceeded anything we had previously encountered, involving federal healthcare regulations that carried significant legal and financial penalties for implementation errors, medical equipment integration standards that required specialized certification, and clinical workflow optimization strategies that demanded deep understanding of hospital operations across multiple departments and specialties. Success would require capabilities in project management, regulatory, compliance, and stakeholder coordination that extended far beyond traditional technology consulting expertise. More importantly, for our long-term business development objectives, the Presbyterian St. Joseph engagement represented the institutional reference that had been missing from previous proposals for large organizational contracts. The university rejection had demonstrated that technical innovation and client satisfaction were insufficient for competing against established consulting firms when institutional clients prioritized risk mitigation over service differentiation. Success with a major healthcare system would provide credible evidence of our capability to manage complex implementations while maintaining operational excellence under demanding circumstances. The contract signing ceremony took place in the hospital's executive conference room, a formal environment that reflected the institutional significance of technology partnerships in modern healthcare delivery. Dr. Harrison was accompanied by the Chief Financial Officer, Chief Information Security Officer, and Director of Nursing who had participated in our selection process, creating a comprehensive stakeholder group that would oversee project implementation while ensuring alignment with clinical excellence and operational efficiency objectives. The ceremonial aspects of contract execution highlighted the professional milestone that Presbyterian St. Joseph represented for Mitchell Strategic Solutions. The formal agreements, regulatory compliance documentation, and performance guarantees reflected institutional standards that we had been working toward since the university rejection forced reassessment of our competitive positioning and business development strategy. The signed contracts validated our systematic investment in professional certifications, quality assurance processes, and financial stability that large organizations required when selecting technology consulting partners. Following the contract signing, I scheduled an all-hands meeting with our complete consulting team to announce the Presbyterian St. Joseph engagement while outlining the organizational changes that successful project delivery would require. The opportunity represented transformational growth that would test our operational capacity, while providing resources for staff expansion and infrastructure development that could enable similar engagements with other large healthcare organizations throughout the region. The team response was overwhelmingly positive, reflecting both excitement about the professional challenge and recognition of the career development opportunities that working with a major healthcare system would provide. Marcus Chen, our lead systems architect, expressed enthusiasm that captured broader team sentiment about the significance of this engagement for our competitive positioning and technical expertise development. This project will require us to develop capabilities in healthcare regulations and medical equipment integration that could establish Mitchell Strategic Solutions as a specialized healthcare technology consulting firm, he observed during our team meeting. The experience and references we gain from Presbyterian St. Joseph could open opportunities with other healthcare organizations that need similar integration expertise. His analysis confirmed our strategic assessment that success with this engagement could establish healthcare technology as a core competency that differentiated Mitchell Strategic Solutions from generalist consulting firms while providing sustainable, competitive advantages in markets with substantial growth potential and limited specialized competition. The healthcare sector represented opportunities for long-term client relationships and recurring revenue that could provide business stability while supporting continued expansion into adjacent markets. Jennifer Martinez, our project manager, who would coordinate the Presbyterian St. Joseph implementation, emphasized the operational excellence requirements that would determine project success and future referral opportunities. Healthcare organizations have zero tolerance for implementation errors that could affect patient care or regulatory compliance, she explained. This project will require quality assurance processes and risk management capabilities that exceed anything we have previously implemented. Her perspective highlighted the professional development opportunities that the Presbyterian St. Joseph engagement would provide, while demonstrating the institutional standards that large healthcare consulting required. The experience would enhance our operational capabilities while providing practical expertise in regulatory compliance and stakeholder management that would prove valuable for future engagements with similar organizations. The first phase of project implementation began with comprehensive stakeholder interviews across all 8 hospital facilities, requiring systematic documentation of current technology workflows and identification of integration requirements that would affect clinical operations and administrative efficiency. The stakeholder engagement process revealed the organizational complexity that distinguished large healthcare systems from smaller clients we had previously served, involving dozens of different departments with specialized requirements and competing priorities that needed to be balanced through careful project coordination and communication management. Dr. Susan Walsh, the director of nursing whose feedback had been crucial during our selection process, provided ongoing guidance about clinical workflow requirements that would determine whether technology integration supported or hindered patient care excellence. Her collaboration demonstrated the importance of maintaining strong relationships with key stakeholders who could ensure that technical solutions addressed operational needs rather than simply meeting regulatory compliance specifications. The success of any healthcare technology implementation depends on whether clinical staff can use new systems to improve patient care, rather than spending additional time on administrative tasks, Dr. Walsh explained during one of our weekly coordination meetings. Your team's willingness to understand our workflows before proposing solutions gives me confidence that this integration will enhance, rather than complicate, our clinical operations. Her endorsement reflected the collaborative approach that we had developed for healthcare technology consulting, emphasizing stakeholder engagement and workflow optimization, rather than standardized implementations that might meet technical specifications without addressing specific organizational needs. The strategy proved effective for building internal support, while ensuring that technology solutions would be adopted enthusiastically, rather than merely tolerated by clinical staff. The technical implementation process proceeded systematically over the following 8 months, requiring coordination with vendor relationships, regulatory agencies, and internal hospital staff, while maintaining operational continuity that could not be disrupted without affecting patient care quality. The complexity exceeded our previous experience, but remained manageable through careful project planning and systematic risk management that addressed potential complications before they could affect project timelines or deliverable quality. The most challenging aspect of the implementation was managing the stakeholder coordination requirements that involved dozens of different departments with specialized needs and competing priorities that needed to be balanced through ongoing communication and compromise. The organizational dynamics were more complex than anything we had previously encountered, requiring diplomatic skills and political awareness that extended far beyond technical consulting expertise. However, the collaborative relationships we had built during the stakeholder engagement process provided foundation for resolving conflicts and maintaining project momentum when departments disagreed about technical specifications or implementation priorities. The investment in relationship building proved essential for navigating organizational complexity, while ensuring that all stakeholders remained committed to project success, despite occasional disagreements about tactical approaches. The first major milestone celebration occurred when the electronic health records integration was completed successfully at the main hospital facility without any operational disruptions or regulatory compliance issues. The achievement represented validation of our technical capabilities while demonstrating that Mitchell Strategic Solutions could manage complex implementations that met institutional standards for quality assurance and risk management. Dr. Harrison's feedback during the milestone review meeting reflected satisfaction that exceeded our expectations while highlighting specific elements of our implementation approach that had contributed to project success. Your team's emphasis on understanding our clinical workflows before implementing technical solutions has resulted in system integration that actually improves operational efficiency rather than simply meeting compliance requirements, he observed. His recognition was particularly gratifying because it validated the service differentiation strategy that we had developed for competing against larger institutional consulting firms. While established competitors offered standardized implementations that minimized risk through proven methodologies, Mitchell Strategic Solutions provided customized solutions that addressed specific organizational needs while maintaining regulatory compliance and operational excellence standards. The success at the main facility created momentum for expanding implementation to the remaining 7 hospital locations, each with unique operational requirements and stakeholder dynamics that required adapted approaches while maintaining consistency with overall project objectives and technical specifications. The systematic approach we had developed proved scalable across different facilities, while remaining flexible enough to address local variations in clinical workflows and administrative processes. Media coverage of the Presbyterian St. Joseph implementation began appearing in healthcare industry publications, recognizing both the technical innovation and organizational effectiveness that characterized our integration approach. The positive coverage provided external validation while generating inquiries from other healthcare organizations that were facing similar technology integration challenges and seeking consulting partners who could address their specific operational requirements. The industry recognition represented exactly the type of institutional credibility that we had been working toward since the university rejection highlighted our competitive disadvantages when pursuing large organizational contracts. The healthcare publications reached procurement decision-makers at other major medical centers while establishing Mitchell Strategic Solutions as a recognized player in specialized healthcare technology consulting markets. Family conversations during this period reflected growing recognition of the business success that Presbyterian St. Joseph represented, though understanding remained limited due to the technical complexity and institutional significance that were difficult to explain to people outside healthcare technology markets. My parents acknowledged that the engagement represented professional achievement, while continuing to express preference for more traditional career advancement that provided clearer markers of success and advancement potential. My father's response was characteristic, reflecting his banking background and conservative approach to risk assessment. "Sarah, this contract demonstrates that your business has developed credibility with major institutions," he said during one of our weekly phone calls. "But healthcare consulting seems very specialized, and I wonder whether this success can be replicated with other types of organizations or whether you are limiting your market opportunities through sector specialization." His concern was reasonable, based on traditional business development principles, but it also reflected incomplete understanding of the strategic advantages that sector specialization could provide for consulting practices. Healthcare technology integration represented a growing market with limited specialized competition, creating opportunities for sustainable competitive advantages that generalist consulting firms could not easily replicate through standardized service offerings. My mother's perspective focused on the professional recognition and institutional validation that the Presbyterian St. Joseph success represented. "I am proud that such a major organization has confidence in your capabilities," she said. This seems like real proof that your business decisions have been sound, even though we did not always understand the direction you were pursuing. Her acknowledgement meant more than I had expected, representing the first clear recognition from family members that Mitchell Strategic Solutions had achieved substantive business success rather than simply maintaining experimental self-employment. That might eventually require abandoning for more traditional career paths. The validation was gratifying while reinforcing my confidence in the strategic decisions that had enabled this breakthrough engagement. Rebecca's medical background provided unique perspective on the significance of healthcare technology consulting and the operational impact that successful integration could have on patient care quality and clinical efficiency. Technology integration can make an enormous difference in healthcare delivery, she observed. If your solutions are actually improving patient care while reducing administrative burdens, you are contributing to outcomes that matter beyond business success. Her perspective was particularly meaningful because it connected business achievement with broader social impact that extended beyond financial performance or professional recognition. The Presbyterian St. Joseph implementation was improving healthcare delivery for thousands of patients while enhancing working conditions for clinical staff who could focus more attention on patient care rather than administrative tasks that did not directly contribute to treatment effectiveness. David's legal background led him to focus on the contractual and regulatory compliance aspects of healthcare consulting that distinguished this engagement from previous projects with smaller organizations. Major healthcare contracts involve legal and regulatory requirements that demonstrate your business has developed sophisticated operational capabilities, he explained. This type of institutional credibility should enable access to similar opportunities with other large organizations. His analysis confirmed our strategic assessment that Presbyterian St. Joseph's success would provide references and experience that could facilitate business development with other major healthcare systems throughout Colorado and neighboring states. The institutional credibility would enable competitive positioning that had been lacking in previous proposals for large organizational contracts. The completion of Phase 1 implementation across all 8 hospital facilities occurred ahead of schedule and under budget, generating client satisfaction that exceeded contractual requirements while providing operational experience that would prove valuable for future healthcare consulting engagements. The systematic approach we had developed proved effective for managing complex stakeholder coordination while maintaining technical excellence and regulatory compliance throughout the implementation process. The success metrics were impressive, by any measure. Clinical staff reported improved efficiency in patient documentation and care coordination. Administrative staff achieved significant reductions in processing time for insurance verification and billing procedures. Most importantly, patient satisfaction scores increased measurably as clinical staff could devote more attention to care delivery rather than administrative tasks that had previously consumed substantial time and energy. The Presbyterian St. Joseph engagement established Mitchell Strategic Solutions as a credible competitor in large healthcare consulting markets, while providing financial resources and operational experience that would enable systematic expansion into similar opportunities with other major medical centers throughout the region. The success validated our strategic pivot toward institutional consulting while demonstrating that specialized expertise could provide sustainable competitive advantages in markets with substantial growth potential and limited experienced competition. The success of the Presbyterian St. Joseph Medical Center implementation created opportunities that fundamentally transformed the operational challenges facing Mitchell Strategic Solutions, shifting focus from client acquisition to capacity, management and quality assurance across multiple concurrent engagements that tested every organizational system we had developed during our evolution from small consulting practice to institutional healthcare technology firm. The immediate consequence of completing a high-profile healthcare integration project was a substantial increase in inquiries from other medical centers throughout Colorado and neighboring states that faced similar technology challenges and sought consulting partners with demonstrated expertise in complex regulatory environments and clinical workflow optimization. The volume of qualified opportunities exceeded our current capacity to respond effectively while maintaining service excellence standards that had established our reputation for innovative solutions and reliable project delivery. Within 6 months of completing the Presbyterian St. Joseph project, Mitchell Strategic Solutions received formal requests for proposals from 7 different healthcare organizations, ranging from mid-sized regional hospitals to large academic medical centers that required integration capabilities exceeding anything we had previously undertaken. The aggregate value of these opportunities represented potential revenue growth that could triple our business scale within 18 months, but pursuing all qualified engagements would require systematic expansion of consulting staff, project, management capabilities, and operational infrastructure that presented complex coordination and quality control challenges. The most significant scaling challenge emerged from the specialized expertise required for healthcare technology consulting, which demanded extensive knowledge of federal regulations, medical equipment integration standards, and clinical workflow optimization strategies that could not be quickly acquired through traditional hiring processes. The regulatory complexity that characterized healthcare technology created substantial barriers to entry that protected existing consultants from competition, but also limited our ability to rapidly expand capabilities through conventional staff development approaches. Marcus Chen, our lead systems architect, who had become recognized as an expert in healthcare database integration, provided critical analysis of the staffing requirements that large-scale expansion would involve. The technical skills needed for healthcare consulting required combination of traditional systems, integration expertise, with specialized knowledge of medical equipment protocols and regulatory compliance frameworks that typically required years of practical experience to master effectively. The challenge we face is not simply hiring additional consultants, Marcus explained during our strategic planning session. Healthcare technology integration requires expertise that cannot be developed through general consulting experience. We need candidates with specific healthcare technology backgrounds, but the limited pool of qualified professionals creates significant competition among consulting firms for experienced staff members. His assessment highlighted the fundamental constraint that would affect our expansion strategy and competitive positioning in rapidly growing healthcare consulting markets. The specialized knowledge requirements created both opportunities for sustainable competitive advantages and obstacles to rapid scaling that needed to be addressed through systematic approaches to staff development and knowledge management that could efficiently transfer expertise across team members. Jennifer Martinez, our project manager who had successfully coordinated the Presbyterian St. Joseph implementation, emphasized the operational complexity that managing multiple concurrent healthcare engagements would require. Healthcare organizations operated under regulatory requirements and operational constraints that demanded immediate responsiveness to implementation challenges that could affect patient care quality, creating coordination demands that exceeded conventional project management approaches. Each healthcare client requires dedicated attention during critical implementation phases because operational disruptions can have immediate consequences for patient care and regulatory compliance, Jennifer observed. Managing multiple concurrent engagements would require project management capabilities and quality assurance processes that we have not previously needed to develop. Her perspective revealed the institutional requirements that distinguished large-scale healthcare consulting from other types of technology implementation services. The zero-tolerance approach to operational disruptions that characterized healthcare environments created service delivery standards that required redundant capabilities and comprehensive risk management processes that significantly increased operational complexity and resource requirements. The financial implications of rapid expansion presented additional challenges that required careful analysis of cash flow requirements, profit margin impacts, and investment priorities that would determine sustainable growth trajectories. Healthcare consulting generated substantial revenue per engagement, but the extended implementation timelines and resource-intensive service delivery approaches created cash flow patterns that differed significantly from smaller projects with shorter duration, and more predictable resource requirements. The staffing expansion required to pursue multiple large healthcare engagements would involve substantial upfront investment in salaries, benefits, and training costs that would need to be funded before project revenue could cover these expenses. The timing mismatch between staffing investments and revenue recognition created financial planning challenges that required careful coordination with banking relationships and cash management strategies that could support growth without compromising operational stability. Dr. Patricia Chen, my original mentor who had provided guidance throughout our business development, offered valuable perspective on scaling challenges based on her experience managing similar growth phases in technology consulting practices. Her analysis emphasized the importance of maintaining service quality standards while expanding operational capacity, highlighting specific areas where rapid growth could compromise client satisfaction if not managed systematically. The reputation you have built for innovative solutions and reliable project delivery represents your most valuable competitive asset, Dr. Chen explained during our consultation meeting. Rapid expansion can dilute service quality if operational systems cannot maintain consistency across multiple concurrent engagements. The challenge is growing capacity without compromising the excellent standards that established your market position. Her guidance reinforced our assessment that sustainable expansion required systematic investment in operational infrastructure, quality assurance processes, and staff development programs that could maintain service excellence while accommodating increased project volume and organizational complexity. The scaling challenge involved both quantitative capacity expansion and qualitative capability development that would enable consistent delivery of specialized healthcare consulting services. The strategic planning process that emerged from these consultations resulted in a comprehensive expansion plan that balanced growth opportunities with operational constraints while prioritizing investments in capabilities that would provide sustainable competitive advantages in healthcare consulting markets. The plan addressed staffing requirements, infrastructure development, and quality assurance processes through phased implementation that could be adjusted based on project success and market demand. The first phase involved hiring 3 additional consultants with healthcare technology experience while implementing project management systems that could coordinate multiple concurrent engagements without compromising service delivery standards for individual clients. The hiring process proved more challenging than anticipated due to limited availability of qualified candidates and significant competition from established consulting firms that offered higher compensation packages and more comprehensive benefits. The candidate evaluation process revealed the importance of cultural fit alongside technical qualifications, particularly for healthcare consulting that required collaboration with clinical staff and hospital administrators who prioritized patient care excellence over purely technical considerations. The interpersonal skills and professional demeanor that enabled effective stakeholder engagement proved as important as regulatory knowledge and systems integration expertise for determining consultant effectiveness in healthcare environments. Sarah Williams joined Mitchell Strategic Solutions as a senior healthcare technology consultant after 8 years with a larger consulting firm where she had developed specialized expertise in electronic health records implementation and clinical workflow optimization. Her experience included successful projects with academic medical centers and multi-facility healthcare systems that provided exactly the background we needed for pursuing similar engagements with qualified prospects. Thomas Rodriguez brought complementary expertise in healthcare regulatory compliance and medical equipment integration from his previous role with a medical device manufacturer that required extensive knowledge of federal healthcare regulations and quality assurance standards. His background provided capabilities that would enable Mitchell Strategic Solutions to address compliance requirements more effectively while reducing regulatory risk for healthcare clients pursuing complex technology integrations. Lisa Park contributed project management experience specifically focused on healthcare technology implementations that involved coordination with multiple vendor relationships and regulatory agencies while maintaining operational continuity that could not be disrupted without affecting patient care quality. Her expertise addressed exactly the operational coordination challenges that managing multiple concurrent healthcare engagements would require. The integration of new team members required systematic knowledge transfer and cultural orientation that could efficiently communicate our service delivery standards and client relationship management approaches while enabling rapid contribution to ongoing project responsibilities. The onboarding process included shadowing experienced consultants during client interactions and participating in project coordination activities that provided practical exposure to our operational methodologies. The expanded team enabled Mitchell Strategic Solutions to pursue 3 concurrent healthcare engagements during the first quarter following staff expansion, including a regional hospital system that required integration across 4 facilities, an academic medical center that needed specialized research database capabilities, and a psychiatric treatment facility that required compliance with additional federal regulations governing mental health information management. The simultaneous management of multiple complex healthcare projects tested every operational system we had developed while providing valuable experience in resource allocation, quality control, and stakeholder coordination that would inform future expansion phases. The coordination challenges exceeded our previous experience, but remained manageable through systematic project planning and communication protocols that ensured consistent service delivery across all concurrent engagements. However, the operational complexity created new sources of stress and potential points of failure that required continuous monitoring and adjustment to prevent service quality degradation or client satisfaction issues that could affect our reputation in healthcare consulting markets. The increased demands on senior staff members created workload pressures that needed to be balanced through careful resource allocation and delegation strategies that maintained quality oversight while enabling operational efficiency. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload. From us,